has come to make a big decision on your tax planning. Soon your employer will ask you which tax regime will you opt for from April 1st, 2023. Will it be the default new tax regime which has lower tax rates and offers fewer exemptions, or the old tax regime with higher rates and more exemption options? Welcome to TOI Wallet Talks. Chatting up today with us is Surabhi Marwah. She's tax partner at EY India. And by the end of this episode, we hope that you will know exactly which tax regime to opt for in 2023-24. Hi Surabhi, welcome to the show.
Hi Smriti, thank you for having me.
Thank you. So the aim today is to help our viewers understand which is the best tax regime for them in the coming financial year 2023-24. So in that regard, my first question to you is that what are the factors and checklists that I should sit down and have with me when I'm looking to make a decision on which is the regime to opt for?
So pardon me if I refer to my notes, because there's a lot of information around the new and the old regime, and right. I have listed it down for our viewers because I think the attention or the devil is in the details here.
Right.
So a couple of things to look out for. The first and very important is, of course, you should know what the old and the new regime is. A lot of people say, what is that? So it's a regime where you have an option to adopt a revised or a new personal tax regime which has tax rates which are a little different from the currently or the old accepted regime. But right. You also have to, in a nutshell, forego a lot of exemptions and deductions that normally as salaried and other people you are used to taking. So that's in a nutshell the old versus new regime. And why are we talking about it? Because I think it's very important for every individual to do the selection on the basis of his or her own personal situation, which is the situation of their income, which is the situation of your exemptions and deductions and your future investments as well. So how should you make this very key decision, and what are the factors? One is, what are the kind of deductions and exemptions that you have been taking or will be taking in the coming year? For example, HRA, life insurance. A lot of us, as we were coming up the ranks, wanted to invest and take maximum advantage of every tax break the government gave, and we live on rent, etc. So one is that you have to look at all of these because a lot of them are not available in the new personal tax regime. Right. Your level of income really matters. For example, in the new personal tax regime, net taxable income up to 7 lakh rupees is exempt from tax. So 7 lakhs plus 50,000 rupees of standard deduction, that's the gross. So you get 50,000 exempt as a standard deduction even in the new regime. So if for incomes up till 7 lakh rupees, there is no tax in the new personal tax regime. So then it becomes like a no-brainer if you're starting off and that's your income as well. The third is for people who have a very high levels of income. There again, the new personal tax regime makes sense because the government has capped the surcharge at 25%, while it is 37% in the existing regime. So your effective or highest tax rate in the new regime is 39 versus 42.7. So again, sort of becomes a no-brainer even at that level. I think the fourth is, and a lot of people have been talking about it, and they say, if we are adopting for the existing regime, there are, of course, the benefits are a lot of exemptions and deductions, but then we have to do a lot of paperwork to, claim these. For example, HRA receipts, we have to have lease agreements, we have to make investments, fill in proofs, etc. So maybe that is also criterion, because some people say, I just want my life to be much simpler, and the tax arbitrage is not a lot. So I think that would be the four things that you need to look at. Lots of calculators and all available, the TOI one, everything, where you can key in all of these exemptions and deductions, and then you will be able to see which regime works for you. But these are the four criterion or the moot or the decision points. Really. Another very important point, and we spoke about 7 lakh rupees, is this concept of marginal relief that has just come in the amendments. This is available to resident individuals. Now, if your net taxable income exceeds 7 lakhs, so we spoke about the fact that till 7 lakhs, there is no tax. Let's assume my net taxable income increased from 7 lakh rupees, and my incremental tax liability is higher than the incremental income above 7 lakhs. For example, if my income is 7 lakh 10,000 and my tax liability now becomes 26,000. Now here what has happened is my income is only higher than 7 lakhs by 10,000 rupees, but suddenly I've got to pay a tax of 26,000. Now there is something called a marginal relief that will be available. So the incremental tax will remain at 10,000. So you will get the marginal relief of 26,000 minus the 10,000, and your liability will be restricted to 10,000 rupees, which is the amount by which your income has exceeded 7 lakh rupees. Earlier, when the budget amendments came, this was not there. So somebody who was earning 710 said, hey, I'm earning 710 and I'm paying 26,000 rupees of tax, hypothetically. If I was earning 7, I was not paying any tax. So by bringing in this marginal relief, it has also become more attractive to those people whose income is only slightly above 7 lakh rupees. So that's another good one to bring in, and something that taxpayers should know.
Okay. You spoke of standard deduction, but apart from that, are there any other common tax exemptions that one should be aware of if they're available under the new tax regime?
So not a lot of exemptions and deductions available. So you have deduction for the new pension scheme that is available. Your retirement benefits like your PF, gratuity, etc. are available. Standard deduction we spoke about. Family pension, etc. is also available. Interest on housing loan for let out property is not really available for this year, but you can carry forward the loss. So basically that's also sort of lost exemption, because you can only carry it forward and there is a limit to what you can claim. So most of the commonly used exemptions that someone with a salary or even a business income would be taking, like I said, if you have a salary, you'd be probably taking HRA because you live on rent. You'd be taking, your ATC benefits, which is the LIC. You would be taking the mortgage on home loan, which is the 2 lakh rupees. Those are, I think, some key ones that people take. All of those, unfortunately, are not available in the new regime. And the set off is that you get a lower list of tax rates in the new regime.
Okay. But if you could tell us, with the help of some examples, what are the various, the old versus new tax regime, tax saving, tax outgo for not only the various tax slabs, but even exemptions, as you yourself rightly mentioned, that till now a lot of people have invested that way. They are availing certain exemptions. Yes. And in that regard, is there a cap limit on the exemption after which the old regime will make more sense versus the new one? So if you could illustrate for us with a few examples.
Sure. I think rather than get into every income level, I'll give the viewers here a very simple sort of math to do.
Right.
Now let's come to a few more brackets. What if your income level, and a lot of people ask me this question, let's talk about between 15 lakhs and 5 crores. Why am I talking about 5 crores? Because at 5 crores anyway, I spoke about the fact that your surcharge rate is capped. So obviously 39 versus 42.7.
Right.
Between 15 and 50, and this is a wide range, but there's one answer. If your exemptions and deductions, and I mean things like HRA, ATC, etc., is about 4,25,000 or more, this is including standard deduction, then typically the old regime will still be beneficial to you. And the reason is because when you get to the new regime, this 4,25,000, which is these commonly accepted deductions, are not available to you. So even if you apply the lower tax rates, the old regime becomes more beneficial. So that is the moot point. So if you are one of those people who are living on rent and therefore you have a few lakh rupees of HRA claims taken, you're taking your ATD, you're taking your ATC, you're taking your housing benefit, that all of that is easily 4,25,000 and above in the example we spoke about. So in your case, if you're between 15 lakhs to 5 crores of income, and again, like I said, please do use the calculator, but I would be very surprised if the answer is wrong and if the old regime is not still more beneficial to you. Simple math, because you're losing all these exemptions and deductions.
Can I switch from the new regime, if say I'm opting for it and I want to switch back to the old regime? A, can I do it? B, does it make sense? Say, for example, I enter a life stage where, as you said, I've bought a house, or I want to claim that exemption available on interest on housing loan, so on and so forth. Then does it make sense for me to move back to the old regime, and can I?
So I think that flexibility has been given by the government. So how it works is, and how it will work going forward is, that your employer, just like right now in the, you get an option to give in proofs, etc. in the beginning of the year, and then like a declaration and then actuals at the end. The employer will give you an option. Please opt for one of the two regimes. Right. Now, if you don't opt, if you are lazy and you forget to opt, or you say, "Acha, baad mein karunga," the employer has to deduct tax on a month-on-month basis. The default tax regime is now the new regime. So if you have forgotten to tick it off or you haven't done it, then the employer has to compute tax for you under the new regime, because that becomes the default tax regime. But if you tick old regime, then the employer has to deduct tax for you under the old regime. So that's very important for you to know. Now, what happens if I, choose one over the other, but towards the end of the year, I realize I've bought a house, I've taken a loan, or, oh my God, I have to live on rent, or I've decided that I don't want to spend money on a holiday and I want to invest it under ATC, etc. And now my exemptions and deductions are a lot more. While filing your tax return as a salaried person, you can change or switch the tax regimes. You may have a situation where you have to pay more tax, or a situation of refund as well, but you are allowed to do so. So keep that in mind. Important question, do your math now so that you can tick the right regime. If you don't tick it, the employer chooses the new regime, and you cannot go to the employer and say, "Hey, why did you choose the new regime? Because I hadn't ticked anything." That's what the law says.
Right.
If you are in a business or a profession, again, you can change regimes, but it is slightly more complicated, because till that profession or business lasts, whatever regime you choose, you have to continue. If you shift your business or profession, like from cement to solar or whatever, then you can change your regime or opt for a new regime at that point in time. So it's very flexible for salaried people. You definitely get two choices, beginning to the employer and for your return. But for a business and a profession, you've got to be more careful, because you've got to then keep it during the lifetime of your business.